They were very kind to us, considerate of us, allowed us to stay for as long as we wanted to with just a few adults, and we had a high old time. It was wonderful. And out of gratitude, we took to making it our habit every year to have brought 6 trees from the mainland, evergreen spruce, and we planted them as a way of thanking the people that own this land for our chance to vacation.
Portland, Maine, getting ready to go on a trip.
Actually, I just put towels and
On that boat.
huge help, and well, it happened so fast.
View of the town. Well, here we are, shipping off.
He knows I did because I showed him. That was his kind way of asking me. Yeah. You know, I would know your father. No, I was like, I think it's you're supposed to be still come there.
I know I complain about how I look all the time, but I still pay.
We're just going to split it.
There's a big boat. Nice boat.
Momentarily, I'll be sounding a prolonged blast for about 6 seconds on the horn, which is right over the wheelhouse. Those of you seated forward may wish to guide your ears against that sound. I'll give you that opportunity. Here goes. There's a harbor seal dead ahead of us, and he'll be on the right as we swing. Just lazing along there. That puppy dog without ears, sea dog, they call him. And he is still on the surface, just skimming along. Hunting and fishing, there he dives, going after a mackerel, I suppose. They love herring. Also eat krill and copepods and other creatures like small squid, and they like lobster too, you know, but they're not going to go after hard shell lobster. It's only cheddar. Soft shell or no shell, that's the way they like them, right off the bottom. We are now in the inner harbor of Portland, and this section of the inner harbor is called the Fore River. It stretches behind us for about 2 miles to the head of ocean navigation for ships anyway, and up through that new graceful span there in the distance astern called the Casco Bay Bridge. The Casco Bay Bridge was inaugurated into local service here, open to traffic on August 31st, 1998. It's relatively new then. And an older bridge identifying incoming sailing ships of local owners, who after all would never know when their ships were coming in. There was no ship-to-shore communication of any kind. Well, what they did was spy the ship on the horizon, identify it through a large brass powerful telescope of European manufacture, and then if you paid them a subscription price, because this was a business, they would fly your house flag on one of the many flagpoles at the top of that tower above the cupola, where you now see, if you look carefully, just the U.S. flag. I don't know why the city and the state flags aren't there. They usually are. So there it is, the only tower of its type left, and that is remarkable. Amazing. No one cared to save any of the rest. Look here to the right, and you see white and aluminum oil tanks of the Gulf Oil Corporation, which when they were built after World War II were those of the California Standard Oil Company. Calso, they called their product on the highways of the United States. Now it's called Chevron, but that's a moot point because that terminal is Gulf Oil nowadays. Look at these ruins of piers going by on the right. They were outfitting piers for the War Emergency Shipyard that was on this site instead of those oil tanks during World War II. They weren't there. Plus there are 7 oil terminal tank farms, all on the South Portland side, 5 of them up above that Casco Bay Bridge in the distance astern. Mickey M. McAllister there to the left is a new type tractor tug. This is the type that will predominate in U.S. towboat fleets from now on. If they want to do naval ship work, they must have those. The Navy will accept no other than the most modern technology. Wow, that's changed course for a lot of tug companies. They're scurrying now. Take a look at our lighthouse back there on the right. What a little beauty that is. Grecian-style tower. A good model of the Temple of Lysikrates near ancient Athens, Greece. It was built there in 1873 by the Portland Company, which didn't build lighthouses as a rule, but this time they did. Usually they were building marine reciprocating steam engines and side-wheel walking beam engines for ships and steamboats. And ship workers of 2 adjacent shipyards of the War Emergency. Operated by the Todd Bath Shipyards Corporation, an amalgam of our own Bath Iron Works with a larger one nationally known Todd Shipyards Corporation. They did a great job. 35,000 workers, including 3,700 women, and they were doing the jobs of men, and that doesn't count those working as secretaries and doing the other administration work as usual. Rosie the Riveter and I to the here since November 1941 to the refineries of East Montreal, Quebec, Canada. Nothing stays here. We get the refined light products, though, by Irving oil tankers from St. John. Headlight. People that think it's a headlight are dead wrong. There are no headlights at sea. Headlights are for automobiles, trucks, buses, other highway vehicles, motorcycles even, and railway trains have headlights. There are no headlights at sea. That is not Portland headlight. Just wanted you to know so you can correct other people. Many people get that wrong. Deborah and Megan here, look at this Hampton boat. Engaged in a lobster fishery, hauling those traps, tending one there on the gunwale of the boat. And doing a good job at that. See the color of his buoy? He must display that above the cabin of his vessel. And every licensed lobsterman in the state of Maine has his own registered color. Look here to the right, see a Civil War fortress, Fort Scammell there on House Island on this end. Single row cannon fort smashed fire with that fortress on the mainland beside the breakwater light, and that was Fort Preble. It is now, of course, a college campus over there at Fort Preble. It's Southern Maine Community College. Not a fortress of the Army anymore, except in a historic sense. Tiny tug Judy Ann, too, over there with her fuel barge. She daily scurries among the island marinas here, delivering light refined products. And she succeeds the old Judy Ann, a little tiny tanker, which was the Portland Gulf in my day, retailing Gulf oil products when I was just a kid. Look over to the left there, and another huge bastion is the granite fortress of the third system. That is Fort Gorges, and it's been isolated there on Diamond Lakes, looking much the same as it does today. Since 1858, the year it was completed, it's been built in about 2 years. That third system fort is one of many, a chain of forts now extending from Maine to Florida, Florida to Texas, down the Atlantic seaboard and around the Gulf waters and up the Mississippi system. Built in 2 decades before the Civil War, So these aren't Civil War forts. This is not that one. The one on the right, the one back after the main one. And the doughboys of World War I left us messages on the bald face of the cliff you'll see up ahead of the bow of the McCoy. Messages that we can't decipher anymore. It was early graffiti. And the doughboys wrote what came into their heads, I guess, and so did the GIs during World War II training here for global war, and also the U.S. Naval Sailor Station here at the receiving. So recommend it, though. On the other side, it's shallow, out many hundreds of yards on the western shore. Just the way Mother Nature laid things out here. Look to the right and you're seeing a high ledge over there. There are a line of to the site of the Steamboat War and its identity. Look at the eyebrow created a couple of years back, uniting two old 1880s cottages together. Peculiar, but I don't know, in a strange way attractive to all glass. On the other, armed to the teeth this place was, and look by those new homes under construction, very expensive ones, two in a row here on the left side, and you see the concrete ramparts of Battery Ramsey, 3- and 6-inch anti-aircraft guns during World War II. And up in the trees you might even notice the control tower buried in the Aqua Sister of the Casco Bay line. The proudest, most popular steamer on this waterway ever was now USS Green Island, serving the Navy as well. Picking up those exhausted sailors and dropping off the ones that were fresh and alive and ready to enjoy the recreation on the other side of the island. Horseshoe links all laid out for them. And the two bowling alleys retained from the old Islands Community Center. Torpedo boats. Well, that was a peril that was planned for all during the war until 1944, when they knew quite well that German motor torpedo boats were not going to get here. But there over to the right is the 5-masted sailing schooner Zebedee Swift, and behind her the similar Maud Maury in their graves. And their graves, of course, consist of the ballast stone that we can see. Cobblestone ballast, just like the cobblestones you see paving any street. Oftentimes in the city, especially those period reproductions, use cobblestone. They can somehow coerce you with your boat to help them cut the net. What a German U-boats do. You pull load of torpedoes and then just shooting galleys on a 75 to 145 naval and allied ships inside the island. They didn't take that ship. Up there to the right, and you see the channel we take now takes us between Hope Island on the right and Deer Point Great Big on the left. Hope Island is now known by owned by the local populace here, built up here on the other side where the McCoy will stop there in Chandler Cove today. And I venture to say a lot of war bonds paid for that. Dragon 2 on the left is Camp Dakota loves the fishery, and they use those green YMS traps, but wire most of these days the slides with some planted wood. Completely first wood flat track. So that is a wooden boat. They're going to be a rarity among the Hampton class. Also fiberglass is good. They become super saturated, able to dive to deep depths of 90 feet or more in quest of prey, and they must do that in order to get their 25 pounds of fish per day per bird on the average that they consume. They are ravenous creatures. Perry never knew for sure what he'd do with it. It never was quite finished, but at one time it housed his artifacts of exploration trips, and it was destroyed in a storm later. I hope none of those artifacts went with it. Most of the artifacts appear to be in the Perry McMillan Museum in Brunswick now, on the campus of Bowdoin College, the alma mater of our Edward Perry. We'll soon be docking here. Going to give a little attention to that and talk to you a little bit more once we're alongside. We getting here about 25 past 12. That means along about 10.
Summit of Cadillac Mountain. What a view. What?
I said I would have had lunch over here myself.
It's the cat coming in.
Yeah, definitely. That's not a comparison. It's really nice here because this
Here's again. Kicking. This is another shot from Cadillac looking down into the gorge. And that's a Horn Mountain, I believe. And the summit of that is right there. We hiked up to that rock pile right there. And we were looking up at this place in awe. And then later found that we could actually drive up here. There's a road. And then you have this beautiful gorge. Cliff, and there's no guardrail here, so I'm basically being very careful. The view is just tremendous. Out there, there's a whole nice back up. Out there in the distance, you can't see. Flock of seagulls. The landscaping is just breathtaking. Now I walk down here, there's somebody just enjoying the view. The wind is blowing. What?
View is right there and I can't see it.
See fine. This is perfect. She's whining, making excuses because she wants to come down here. Tough girl. Gotta be careful walking. Picturesque. have Northeast Harbor. Beautiful, beautiful view from up here. That's a truck running in the background. Beautiful boats. People getting ready. Little yacht. Out to the ocean out there. Fishing boat. And there's us. Gotta get the truck in there. This is the Bass Harbor Lighthouse, actually lighting. There's my girls. Hear the sound of the buoy. There's more of the Bass Harbor Lighthouse, or should I say Bass Harbor. That would be the Atlantic Ocean out there. There's another buoy. Beautiful, beautiful. Very. There's my little ones. Enjoying the scenery. You guys having fun? Nope. Little red squirrel.
Sounds like your truck.
Cute little things. There he goes.
Nice.
This is a shot of Door Mountain. This is what we had climbed yesterday. We climbed that whole entire face. Kind of, it's hard, you can't see the trails from here, but it zigzagged back and forth up that whole thing. We actually had to climb up on some of those cliffs up there. I remembered walking on those cliff faces. I don't see anybody up there right now. But anyway, this lake is gorgeous. You could see when we were up top. I think I filmed it previously when we were up top. Reeds coming out of it. Oh, it's just beautiful. There's somebody on the other side of the lake. And I don't know if they're going on a trail or not. That might be the beginning of the trail. I'd like to see somebody up on the side of the mountain and zoom in on them. Don't see it. Go back on this. It's hard to shoot this stuff. I think this mountain here is almost 1,300 feet, which is not all that high, but climb it. The mountain on the other side called Cadillac that we drove up to yesterday.